And one of the guys who is always a question, will he keep his cool? But he's been very solid this year, a really good leader for the offensive side, is Baker Mayfield. Baker, after the game against the Colts, he had a pretty good game, but he commented after the game he thought this was his worst game of the season to this point. So, Eric, I'll go back to you here. Would you agree with Baker that he had a rough outing against the Colts, and do you think he bounces back against the Steelers?
Well, he had a very, very, very solid first half. He was making tremendous throws to Jarvis that he caught that pass on the backside of the defender. He had that one pass to OBJ that he caught in between two defenders. He had 2 touchdowns to Hunt and Hollywood. Second half, not as much. I think he completed 2 passes to his team and 2 passes to the other team. So I don't know if part of that's related to the shots he was taking and he wasn't 100%. But overall, I guess if you want to say it's the worst game, but it wasn't an awful game. But second half was you can't be having that, especially against really good teams like the Steelers. He's going to have a challenge. I mean, there's no way to put it, other way to put it. Steelers defensive line is going to come after him. They saw the Colts did, and they want to try to replicate that. They want to put pressure on him. They want to hit him, whether it's a clean hit or maybe a little late hit, or if they don't sack him, as long as they put pressure on him, they think that he can, kind of get rattled and not perform as well as he did in the first half of last week's game. What I do have a little bit of faith is that Carson Wentz has been having a dreadful year, and he had put up some decent marks last week against the Steelers. His highest QBR of the season, he had an 81.7 rating. I don't know what that means, but it's his highest rating, so I guess that means he performed decently. He had his highest yards per attempt, which, Baker's been completing some deeper passes. He had a 7.4 yards per play last week for Carson Wentz. So, I'm hoping that assume he won't be dinking and dunking this week against the Steelers or needing to. That would be the assumption. Many people would think that they would be doing screens or, quick hitters to avoid that rush. And he had the second most yards, which was second most yards and tied for second most touchdowns of the season. A lot of that's probably because they were trailing most of the game, but nonetheless, he was still putting up yards. Now, the downside was, as I had mentioned, he was sacked 5 times and put up 2 interceptions. So, yeah, Baker's gotta avoid that to have a good contest. So, if the offensive line can keep him protected up front, that's a very tall order. But last week, Chris Hubbard filled in admirably for Wyatt Teller, and it looks like he's going to get the start again this week. So that's really going to be the key for this offensive line. I'd really love to have Teller in this game, but if Hubbard can, keep it up for at least one more week, perhaps they're gonna, do what they're supposed to do and keep Baker upright, and more importantly, prevent any hits that are going to happen to him, which could lead to a long day for the offense.
Yeah, it's certainly been discussed. Baker's injuries going into this game. Drew, do you think that's going to impact him, especially if this game gets a bit chippy?
Yeah, if he's hurt. It's going to depend on how those heal. Everything that I've heard is that he's experiencing soreness and pain in his ribs. So I'm hopeful that that's what led to the poor performance we saw in the second half that Eric alluded to. I'm hopeful it was because he was injured and not just because that he reverted to some old bad Baker tendencies. But, this is still a quarterback who can kind of go either way, right? We see the talent, we see the accuracy, we see the leadership traits, but we also see some times when he gets hit and he's not as good, right? He starts to leave a clean pocket. He starts to roll to the same direction the whole time, always to his right. So it's going to be very interesting. They need to find a way to slow down the Steelers' pass rush. He's going to get hit in this game, and so he needs to be healthy. And if he's not, then I don't know that he should play this game, right? You saw what he tried to do with ribs that were causing him severe discomfort. And if that is the case, there's no way the Browns are going to win going 2 for 8 with 2 interceptions and a half against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not going to happen in Pittsburgh. So I hope they get out to a huge lead, just like they did against Indianapolis. I hope they're able to establish their game. But he needs to have it needs to be good Baker in order to beat this team. So the Steelers do have some pieces that are vulnerable, though. Their secondary is good. Joe Hayden is a good player. Thanks, Sashi Brown. Thanks, MSXL regime. They have Minka Fitzpatrick, right? They have Steven Nelson. They have a decent cornerback unit, but Mike Hilton was absolutely abused by Travis Fulgham, a practice squad player for the Eagles that went off for, I think he just caught another pass just right now. I think that was his 12th reception for his 240th yard. Every pass seemed to go that way. That position seemed to be, they did not have an answer for it. The Steelers didn't seem to be able to answer that. So I'm really excited that David Njoku is returning this game. I think he can take advantage of poor nickel play. I'm hopeful that Hollywood gets some looks, or at least we use 3 receivers so Jarvis can line up in the slot. I'm looking forward to seeing if they can take advantage of what is a very obvious weakness for the Steelers, and that is nickel cornerback. They don't have a lot of them on that defense, and that is the place that I think the Browns have to win if they're going to win. So that's one spot that I'm looking forward to seeing what we do out of the slot and out of maybe even a 2 tight end set with one sort of motioned into the slot, right? I'm looking forward to seeing what that position looks like, because the Steelers don't have a lot of weaknesses, but that is one that is very exploitable, as the Eagles showed, with a guy that is nowhere near as talented as Rashad Higgins or David Njoku.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to need to rely on Hollywood. News that came out recently: OBJ headed home due to an undisclosed illness. They said he passed his COVID test.
Okay.
But it is potentially just out of caution that he has some sort of illness that's going to cause him to go home now. Don't know what that means for the game. Doesn't sound great.
No.
But yeah,
It does not sound
two tight ends set. Let's see more Austin Hooper. Njoku played in the game last week. Let's see some more Njoku. Would love to see Hollywood. And Jarvis had great game last week. So the weapons are still there. I think Baker's going to rise to the occasion. I think he will be there. I think it just continues to be a question past this game if he's going to get carry those injuries as the season goes forward.